because it's a story that I think everybody knows. I don't have to read my book to learn about it. It's about Nathan Hale. And of course, like almost everybody, I first heard of Nathan Hale when I was in high school history. And once again, when I went through American history in college. You learn he truly is a model of a man who's willing to risk his life for his country, an excellent patriot. And indeed he was. He was a Yale man of very high moral and ethical values. Probably, frankly, too much more for a spy. Could have been a little bit more unethical on his part. It might have been a bit more successful. But you learn a great deal about him, and you learn how he went out and volunteered, tried to do his best, and was accidentally caught, and then hanged, of course. And you have the beautiful quote, "I regret I had but one life to give for my country." And then you have all the statues of him all over the place, including one at the CIA headquarters that shows him out there as a strong, profiled, resolute individual. Well, when I got into the agency, one training course I took well into my career had the view of a CI analysis of exactly the way his operation was planned. And by the end of it, we had identified about 10 or 11 different fundamental mistakes in the way his operation was organized, the type of requirements he was given, why he didn't fit in, why there were certain problems that were going to cause him possible great harm. One example is that he had a relative who knew him very well, who was actually working for the British in the same area at the same time. Another was that he had actually been a Continental officer during a retreat in New York, and so much of the population that still lived there under British occupation knew him as a Continental officer. So the thought that he's just going to walk around as a school teacher behind British lines, and I have to tell you that cultural readings at the time indicate the average British soldier wasn't really interested in going to school anymore, indicated that his being caught accidentally, there were so many factors that would be perfectly possible. Well, I don't know, a lot of times when you write with a preconceived idea. Well, the surprise comes when you find your preconceived idea is totally wrong. Because what we found out as a nation only about 7 or 10 years ago was that the reason Nathan Hale was caught was because the British had a very effective counterintelligence officer working against him. It had nothing to do with all the mistakes he made. It was no accident. A gentleman named Robert Rogers, who is most famous for having been the captain of the famous Rogers Rangers during the French and Indian War. After the war, went to England, became a tradesman, came back during the Revolutionary period, and kind of discussed with each side, the American side and the British side, who would give him a little bit better deal to work for him. Well, he became a British officer, and he became their counterintelligence officer, operating along the Long Island shore between Long Island and New York. He had a set of informants, as would be normal, and he knew that a strange person looking like Nathan Hale, who, by the way, did have very unique characteristics, such as a gunpowder blotch on his cheek that rather distinguished him. But let me just mention here as a paraphrase, another interesting aspect of the Nathan Hale story is that no one really knows what he looked like, because while he was alive, no one ever did a portrait or a picture of him. Consequently, every statue we have is the idealized view of Nathan Hale. Yet another actually paradox. But getting back to our friend Robert Rogers. Rogers actually tracked down Hale, convinced Hale that he was a fellow pro-American, got him into a tavern over a drink, because Nathan did drink a little bit, as was the custom in those days. Nathan kind of blurted out his mission, asked for Rogers' help. Rogers said, "I'm going to help you, and I'll come back the next morning, and they'll have breakfast together." And they had a very nice breakfast together, but the tavern was surrounded by his rangers, and they took him into custody, and he subsequently was hanged because all the proof had been obtained. So the surprise there was that after some 14 years of thinking I knew exactly what the problem was with Nathan Hale, I was totally wrong, because a box of documents up in some New England cellar had been exposed. Typical for historians.